Jim, I know how much you emphasize post positioning and winning the battle of the post and angles before the ball even gets there. Ava just seemed like in that middle of the first quarter, she got you back-to-back buckets where she won the possession. I guess, how far has she come along in terms of just being confident in her positioning and understanding just the way the offense wants to
Yeah,
play?
I think that was really key, especially she's kind of playing just a slightly bigger version of herself and more seasoned. Grace Van Sluten is one of my favorite players when she was at Oregon, and then it's kind of sad she went into the Big Ten. But I think Ava's starting to really understand that a little bit better. I think we still can get her angle a lot better with a top and in look. The top and in is my favorite way to enter, and we just got to get her a little bit more the angle, and you kind of have to jump the pass a bit and be a little more assertive. But there, Grace Van Sluten's pretty quick. It's hard to get that top leg, but yeah, I think Ava's, she just keeps putting in the work, and she's, really coming. And the exciting thing is, I think she can get really a whole lot better.
Jim, can you talk about, Hannah's her senior leadership off the court, and then today on the court, it just seemed like every time you guys needed something, she was there.
Yeah, I've just been really, just really impressed. I'm so happy for Hannah because, she just works, really hard and battling. A lot of times she's in there with the bigs, but this senior year early, I think she felt a little bit the tightness and the sentimentality I think I've talked about of being a senior. And, a little bit of the pressure, and it's your last, and then she just kind of freed up, and now she's just, doing it with her actions. She's talking more, even on the floor. She was trying to direct them. She had 33 on her, and she knew what she could do. 33 doesn't want any part of the drives and down low, and Hannah did a really good job, going out on, minimizing her on defense. Didn't let 33 get too many good looks. So I'm just really pleased for her, and I thought it was really Hannah's some big plays down the stretch, and even that that 2-3 seconds left on the shot clock, we were trying to get them. They switch, and we got them a couple times early, and then they kind of jammed up the switch and changed that a bit. So we didn't get our first look, but the second look when they hit it to Hannah, beautiful little soft touch from that short corner. So I'm really happy for her.
Jen, I want to ask about the defense of Ava and Hannah. Big Ten physical game, Van Sluten gets into foul trouble, and your two bigs do not. In a Big Ten game, that can easily go the other way.
Yeah.
And that's not a comment on the referees,
Right.
Just that can happen. Why didn't it? Why were your two bigs able to play defense so well without fouling, especially down the stretch?
Yeah, I think, we've been working on it, right? Ava hasn't liked to be sitting, right? And it's usually the big games. It's usually which one of the star players has to sit longer, usually, not always, but it was certainly advantageous for us to have 14 sitting on the bench in that first half, and we needed every bit of that cushion. But we've been working a lot with them with the fouling, and it really helps if you can get up the floor and defending. If you get caught behind a post, they have the advantage, and there's a tendency to reach, and then they kind of get you, with the crossover, and then you body them. And we've been working a lot with that. And Randy's been showing a lot of film, do this, not that, right? So I think hopefully a little bit of getting seasoned with that. But I also think, the game we play is so subjective, right? It just, I think both ways there was just, unique calls, both ways. And I think, we're fortunate tonight that I think our players were pretty disciplined.
Sorry.
You look at this week as a whole, two games that were, on paper kind of toss-up games. You get them both at home. Games that down the stretch had moments of tightness and just whatnot. How much do you feel like this is kind of another step forward in, what the trajectory of this team can be?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about the team so far this year, I think I talked about it, they have resiliency and togetherness. And that's two things that you don't really have a mark on this stat sheet for, and they've been showing that. And I really commended them in the locker room. They also have a tremendous ability to celebrate each other, even if it wasn't their night, or even if it's not their number ever called. And I think that's just I'm just so grateful for that, because that's, I think, how you win those close games. Because even the kids on the bench, they are so vested, and they're yelling out if we're switching. They're yelling out, if we're gonna, switch who's guarding who. And that type of togetherness, that helps you in situations like this. I mean, the big is just so tough, game in and game out. You have stars on every team, and any night one of those stars can shine into a record-setting Big Ten type of night. And tonight, I just was really proud of that resiliency. But I think, as with any year, I think this win, part of it happened way back in November when we beat Baylor. And we found a way, right? Chit Chat was out, we found a way to win that one. And the next day we played Miami, and it was a little tough sledding, but we found a way, and all of a sudden, they saw that. We found a way. We had, a little sickness going on in Northwestern. Okay, wait, we can do this. And I think part of that is the emotion. And, there'll be a time that will catch you if you're going to turn it over like we did in the second half. But I think overall, they never tonight ever let the gap closing ever really ruffle them. So I think it was really huge.
It's been so long ago now, but the impact, the lift that shot from Chit Chat at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
What how instrumental was that?
It was it was just great. And the weird thing was, I usually don't have feelings when you watch things like that, but where she shot it and where I happened to be standing, out loud I said, that's good. Good, because it was a long launch. I just think kids, everywhere, you get lucky when you hit them. But I think every coach, every day or week, you do something where they all launch, right? In case you need something like that. But she had a pretty straight on look at it. But I think those are the things you need to kind of go your way, right? Early in the first quarter, Taylor McCabe was on the floor diving to tie it up, and we got the ball back. It was probably after a turnover. But you kind of need that to happen. You need to get dives. You need to get it at the right time. I mean, even that shot by Hannah, at the end with 2 seconds left on the baseline out of bounds play. You just need that to happen if you're going to get wins like we did.
I know obviously the fourth quarter maybe didn't go quite the way you hoped. It was a little tense at the end, but for the majority of the game, that's a top 15 team that you led by double digits for long stretches. Just, I know you haven't watched the film yet, obviously, but what kind of stands out right now? Maybe a thing or two that you felt like you did really well to really control that.
Yeah, I think that we really stayed in the moment, and we just had some turnovers that we didn't need to have that can really lose your mind as a coach, and it can really just take you down as a player because you just can't believe you did that. But I think everybody was just like, okay, let's depend on our defense. Okay, let's depend on our defense. And our defense, I think, is, obviously, because nobody played really a lot of high scoring in that fourth quarter. But I think that's what I really liked. It doesn't really show up here, but that mental ability to not get stuck in that last play or worry like, oh gosh, I can't believe I did that and now I got to come out. Everybody was like, we got to get it done. That forward thinking. I thought our defense, it held when it needed to, right? We had a couple assignments. We let 33 get back to back, and that's when Hannah had some foul trouble. That's just a little bit of the youth. When someone's a shooter, they're a shooter in the Big Ten. You're going to run them off the line. There's nothing soft about that closeout. But when you're fortunate enough to win it, you can learn from a win. Pretty sure we'll do a little better job when we come in and sub for a shooter, right? And that was, a series where that wasn't the greatest defense, but I thought down the stretch, when we had to come up with a rebound, when they missed, we did. So I just think it was all the defensive side of it.
Do you think this maybe was your best game of the season to this point?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think I probably would have said so. It's just those doggone turnovers in the second half. I just think I'm happy with our mentality, but that's one thing I've been trying to work on with our guys practice squad, is really getting them in situations of duress, of extreme pressure. And I thought we did a lot of good things with it, but then at some crunch time moments, we kind of tried to force something in and was right to green, right? Or all of a sudden we were rushing when we needed to kind of just get a ball reversal. You know, we don't need to, you know, hammer it in. I do think we took way too many threes for a stretch. For as dominant as our inside was, you know, we're like 3. But that's also when you like to go fast and you want everybody to be involved. It's that delicate balance. But I had to ring them in, reel it in. I said, listen, you know, Hannah's shooting pretty well. Van Sluten has 3 fouls, right? There's a reason you're wide open and they're sagging off, right? Get a little ball fake, dribble in, and see if we can get it. If we got that 3, then the reversal. So, you know, we got some work to do there. But I think it was one of our best, but I'm not ready to say it was the best yet. But I think it was close.
Coach, last year, your rookie year, and you had some ups and downs, had a losing streak there. How's this year going?
Well, so far so good, right? But I think, you know, when I look back on that, I tried to look forward, and people have brought that up, but you know, I just think every year you just kind of have to say where it is, and you coach long enough, and a lot of it usually happens, right? You get the ups, the downs, and everything in between. But I like to think I learned a lot from last year. I said, you know, in the Big Ten press conference, they asked me how I felt from last year's Big Ten press conference to this year. And I think the best way to describe it is I'm just more comfortable, right, in the chair. You kind of know what to expect. It doesn't mean like you're overconfident. It's just like the comfortability of knowing and kind of being through some of those fires. It feels really good to be at this situation. And I just think the big is so hard that I try to just block out all the outside noise and, you know, not on the social media. I mean, I post and try to get my players to do that too, because, I mean, you know, every game is really hard and important. But if we would have looked at it like, you know, a lot of people are like, well, we'll see now with Oregon. Oh, we'll really see now with Michigan State. Well, we can keep saying that. Well, we'll see with Maryland. We'll see. I mean, the Big's just tough. So I'm just thankful we are in the situation that we're in. And I'm just trying to keep it as those 40 minutes. And I talk about our players, about stacking the days. And really the positive of being with a group of people you really love and enjoy. And we get to have this type of cool challenge to win games and have a fan base like this. And that's kind of where, you know, I've tried to keep it. And, you know, I just think adversity, it teaches us so much, and it's going to come, right? It's going to come. I mean, I would love to just keep winning all these games. I planned on it. But you got to be in this profession knowing that it's the process, and you're stacking days. And when we get to the end of the journey, then hopefully it's everything we've hoped it would be and more.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you covering us and women's basketball.